Get off my lawn! But first, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you hit that notification button so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. The Magic Dads podcast is now available wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube at the Old Cranky Man Collectibles YouTube channel. Magic Dads is brought to you by Old Cranky Man Collectibles and all of our generous patrons over at patreon.com/MtG Dads Podcast. Go check it out for exclusive content and so much more. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Magic Dads podcast. I'm your host, Blake, and I am joined by
Stefan. I'm your other host. Hi. What's on the docket?
Hold on.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
How's it going?
Oh man, I got that high energy right now. I've had probably too much caffeine.
Yes, I'm good. Nice haircut.
Oh yeah.
You
we got a little bit of length.
You look nice.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at you with your little face.
It was time to clean it up, my friend. I don't know.
Looks good. So I don't know if you saw the hilarious video that went up earlier today.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Rule Zero.
Yeah, a lot of people have discussed this.
It's a hot topic.
Yeah, even still, Commander is like
the most popular play to the most popular way to play Magic, right?
Yeah, the most popular way to play the most popular card game in the world. So by extension, this is the most popular way to play any game in the world, right? Which is very strange.
Yes.
Like it's strange to say out loud that like this one thing is the most popular way to get together and play games together without like a video game controller in your hand.
And so if you were if you were in charge of the most popular game in the world,
yeah,
how would you go about managing that game?
In this case, I would manage it as tight and consistent as possible to alleviate any kind of offloading of any of that onto my players. I would make it as good as possible for as many people as possible.
Yeah, that kind of sounds stressful. Like that's a big job, right?
It absolutely would be. I think you couldn't put a number on that.
So it probably wouldn't be a great idea to just put that responsibility on your players, would it?
No.
So,
in fact,
what is Rule Zero exactly then? Tell me exactly what the clinical definition of Rule Zero is.
Okay, so according to the actual Commander, and we're talking about Rule Zero for Commander, right? Is after defining the rules of the format, they said Rule Zero: these are the official rules of Commander. Local groups are welcome to modify them as they see fit. If you'd like an exception to these rules, especially in an unfamiliar environment, please get approval. And Rule Zero is there to remind people that rules are not set in stone. They can and should be modified by playgroups and organizers to increase the overall fun of the group they want to
Do
cultivate.
you think Dan had fun today?
Yeah.
Dan had a lot of fun getting thrown out on his butt. I just want to thank those guys. Those four guys that were in that video are four very close friends of ours in our play group, and we all had a lot of fun making that movie.
It was Sean that got thrown out.
Yes, it was Sean was Dan. In all seriousness, a Rule Zero is just completely bonkers to me.
It makes very little sense, but so. I sort of understand the idea. Right?
Yeah, what is the intent, right?
Yeah, and that is to create to sort of give people the ability to modify how they play a game in this like what is effectively a casual format to better serve the group that they're playing it in. The problem with doing that is that everybody's going to interpret that differently, or nobody's going to use it at all. Um, so there are what are called command fests happening all over the world. They're happening pretty consistently,
Yep.
and it is literally a place where people from all over the country, all over the world, even, they come together to play this format. And I guarantee you that very few of them are modifying the rules because there's no time.
It's a terrifying task
Oh yeah,
to have to sit down with a group of people, whether you know them or not. Even if you do know them, even if you know the people that you are playing with, it is an impossible task to sit down and to get everybody to agree on a rule zero.
mm-hmm. Especially if imagine you're the one player at the table who wants to play a silver bordered card, even if it's like a fine silver bordered card, right? Like you have to have that discussion and everybody has to buy in. But then on top of that, if you are a player at the table who has sat down, shuffled your cards, put down your play mat, gotten everything ready, and your opponent says, "Hey, I have a deck that has silver word cards," and you don't want to play against that, how awkward is it to say no?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's sort of unfortunate because the only space to have this, what is effectively the most important conversation in establishing the fun of the game, which is sort of a nebulous concept anyway, has to happen in the span of 30 seconds after people have sat down, after people have unloaded all the contents from their bag. And it's going to be very hard to say no, and it's going to be very difficult to be the one that wants to break the rules.
Yeah. I think one of the worst parts about this is that there is a banned list that exists.
Mm-hmm.
There is a ban list that exists. So on one side, you have this ban list over here, which is a very defined thing. This card is banned, this card is banned, this card is banned, this card is banned. You cannot play these in this format. And on the other side, you have this rule zero that says you can change and modify the rules in any way that you want. And so the term "the spirit of the format" comes up a whole lot when you hear the CAG talking about bans.
Mm-hmm.
So we're banning this card because we think that it goes against the spirit of the format.
Yeah. Or it creates unfun play patterns.
So first question is, why does the ban list even exist if you leave it up to the players to figure out what they want to play with?
Yeah. Because there's no consistency. And they regularly say that they ban cards that are against the spirit of the format and as an example of a style of card that should not be played in Commander. So they're acknowledging that there are other cards that that follow suit, that are in that line, that probably shouldn't be played for fun.
So why don't we ban those two and stop beating around the bush?
I think the real answer is that if they did that, they would ban a lot of cards. The ban list would swell to an enormous amount, and it would make a lot of people very unhappy.
It seems like somebody didn't have a whole lot of foresight a long time ago. And instead of using their control over the format to control the format, they just let it get out of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Agreed.
let it get out of control. And now they're at the point where, is there any going back?
No. Without Wizards of the Coast themselves coming in and wresting control of this format from the Commander rules group.
Wait, you mean to tell me that the people that make this game for the people that play this game don't actually get to decide what happens in the most popular way to play said game?
That is correct. That is a correct statement that you've made.
If I had hair, I would pull all of it out right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've got people who play this format who are literalists about the rules, and I don't blame them.
I mean, I consider myself a literalist. So I like to play CEDH because I think that CEDH has the most clearly defined rules. We use the ban list. Everybody's trying to win the game. And you know, that is basically where I'm at with that. it is much easier to just take the rules that they have made and set aside rule 0 as if that does not exist and play the game using the rules that they have made.
Fully agreed.
Because
If that is your intent is to play this format, that is the easiest and most effective way to play it. It does create an issue where there is a not insignificant lopsidedness to specific cards in regards to power level, and win condition, and it does lower the overall number of playable cards in the format. That being said, is that such a bad thing?
it's not necessarily about, being able to do something weird and that, you know, I don't have enough space to be creative. It's just that Magic is a game that I play to win. And once again, there is a set of rules that is clearly defined, and I will find the best way to win within those rules.
Exactly. And unfortunately for Commander, as a quote casual, non-competitive, some people have said, although that label seems to change not infrequently, um, the actual building blocks, the DNA of the game, the heart of the game is a competitive game. It's
Yep.
a game where the cards are designed to kill your opponent as quickly and efficiently as possible. And we have taken these building blocks and we've made an imperfect format out of them because the building blocks weren't designed to function there. And weirdly, the cards that then have been designed for this format have a lot of time inadvertently broken the competitive
Yeah.
formats. It's sort of
Look,
a weird back and forth.
look, I love a weird game of Commander.
Oh yeah,
I love a weird game of Commander, but trying to sit down with people that are playing non-competitive Commander and decide what is acceptable and what is not acceptable and have this rule 0 conversation and then proceed to play the game with my own consciousness, in mind of, how I view power,
yeah,
and to still have other people think that what I'm doing is too powerful, even though to me I'm probably doing like the most inefficient thing that I can possibly do.
yeah.
It's just unsettling.
It creates a negative play experience for you too, right?
Another thing is that a lot of times people just choose to not participate in the rule 0 conversation, and
Oh yeah,
they just go, seems good. Because the first time that I sit down at a Commander table with anybody, it doesn't matter if I've played with them every week for the last several years, or if it's the first time that I sit down and play with them, is I say, so let's have a rule 0 conversation. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, most people just go, everything's fine.
yeah. I have no preference, but they do. They just don't want to say it.
Exactly. Or they don't understand what their preference is, and
Correct.
they're not able to articulate that into words.
There is an additional problem that I have with the rule 0 conversation, and that is that there is an expectation that people bring multiple commander decks with them to play the game. And that basically necessitates people spending a lot of money
Yep.
on what is supposed to be a casual fun format.
Yep.
I don't know how many people are carrying around thousands of dollars
Yep.
in magic cards
Yep.
just so that they have the correct power level or the correct play experience for the play group, because the commander rules committee won't make the decision on what they believe is the correct power level and correct play experience.
The best thing that ever happened to me for as far as Commander was concerned was finally locking in a play group.
Oh yeah,
Locking in a play group of like-minded individuals,
agreed.
and
But then that's, you're basically saying this is the people that I like playing with. But then all of this attempt by Wizard of the Coast to expand these groups by command fests sort of rules you out, right? Like you don't want to go to those things. Why would you want to go to those things?
I would go as long as my friends are with me.
But that what that means is you paid a bunch of money to play at a different table.
You're not wrong, but it's also an experience kind of thing.
I agree, but the right there,
Rule Zero is just such a cop out.
it is.
I can't stand it.
It's an offloading of the responsibility of a managing body to the play group, to the people, because they don't want to take responsibility. And I know it's easier for me to say. It's easy for me to say as a player.
We have said this before, and probably will say it many more times. But I am not qualified and do not want to be in charge of anything.
I prefer not to. I have a family, and that's it.
This is simply a consumer and player perspective.
I would just prefer to have consistency in the rules of a format, and it's sort of the reason that I've stopped playing Commander in general. The only style of Commander that really interests me at this point is the Pauper EDH group, because the rules are so good and so well defined, and like ironically, the power level is so consistent and even with a ban list of twos of cards.
Yeah.
2 cards banned in the entire format, and I agree with both of them.
I do love Pauper Commander.
Yeah, if I was going to play any game of Commander, it would be that or precons versus precons, because those tend to be like the power level tends to be fairly consistent.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But then that's like, again, I'm limiting myself on what I can play when I could just choose to not. Unfortunately.
Yep. And I do think that you're in the minority there, but I think a lot of people, the people that they play with, the only format that those people play is Commander, and they've never really thought about playing anything else.
Which is so strange to me.
Yeah, it does seem like a very foreign concept, but I think it is reality.
Yeah, and so the question now is how would you go about fixing this, Blake? Like, what would you do if you are in the rules committee? What changes do you make?
I already said I don't want to do this. Why are you putting me on the spot?
All right, so I'm not asking you to name and shame cards, but I'm asking what changes you would make to how the format is managed. Like step 1, obviously, removing what is effectively the rule 0 conversation. You can say that you're free to make changes, but in so doing, you are deviating what we believe to be the most fun way to play the format.
I kind of like that take, actually. Like rule 0 if you want to, but you're not playing Commander anymore.
You're basically going off road, right? We've made the road for you. It is a nice, even playing field, but go off road at your own risk.
I do like that.
The other way that we do it is by either eliminating the ban list entirely.
I think that's a good move. That's what I was gonna say. Is like there are some cards that are absolutely need to be banned 100%. Cards like Moxen, cards like Ancestral Recall, those cards, Caracas. Those cards are most certainly against the spirit of the format, and will give players that have those cards a very, very huge advantage in their deck.
Yeah, agreed.
But like the idea of removing the ban list almost entirely sounds so much more appealing to me than trying to figure out what cards are against the spirit of the format and how many different iterations of that card, like a similar card to that one no.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time even articulating what I'm trying to say. I don't even want to try to piece the format apart like that. No.
It would be easier to identify what we see as unfun cards, or unfun things that cards can do, which I believe are as follows. Any kind of listen, I have a treatise built upon this. So there's effectively a couple of different cards that I find to be unfun or creating unfair advantages in a game. One of those is incredibly fast mana acceleration. We can agree on that. So Black Lotus, Moxen, Soul Ring, I know. Everybody loves Soul Ring. It is
Absolutely
an
not.
unfun card.
Absolutely
Mana
not.
Crypt, get it out of here.
Absolutely
None
not.
of those cards should be legal.
Yep.
Right. So we've identified that those cards are bad and should go. And if you disagree with me, you're wrong. The next cards, the next cards that violate what I believe to be the spirit of the format are powerful, cheap tutor effects. The spirit of Commander to me is the inconsistency created by 100 card singleton.
Yep.
And the goofiness, the silliness that creates.
Yep.
So you remove Demonic Tutor, you remove Vampiric Tutor, and you remove basically any kind of tutor that says tutor in the name. I'm comfortable just removing them all. Now, there are ways to find like basic lands. I'm comfortable leaving those in, but any of the powerful ones, and don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. When I say powerful tutors, it's the ones that are messed up. Don't play those cards because you're basically removing, and it's basically like 10 or so.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And then there's sort of the lopsidedness that comes with starting with 40 life creates, and that's sort of secluded to a couple of cards like I think Ad Nauseam, Grizzlebrand, and Yawgmoth's Bargain.
Sure.
Two of these cards are already banned. One probably also needs to go. And I agree because it's the 40 starting life is just sort of when you turn that into card advantage, it creates lopsided games, and I'm comfortable with not having them. That being said, there are a lot of mana, and having Grizzlebrand in command zone is kind of whatever. So that's sort of like the third part is where the life total creates an unfair advantage. And the final one are cards that are sort of unbalanced based on power level, and this is stuff that's generally just undercosted cards that is isolated to like Ancestor Recall, Time Walk, stuff like that. You know it when you see it, but basically everything else can kind of just come off pretty easily. And you're going to make people more excited to play the format. And if people don't like playing against those cards, they're going to know that they're in the format. And listen, there are a lot of cards I don't like playing against, right? And I played in a lot of formats. The cool thing about eliminating tutors is your odds of running into those cards diminish precipitously.
That's true.
So that's sort of my, like, you can play this card because you can't play this other card that will find it, that will effectively create the second or third or fourth copy of it in your deck.
Wow, man, you really did a good job of putting that in the box. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you with your Doritos bold take.
I've had a lot of time to think about this and think about
somebody should put you in charge.
I wouldn't take the job, thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay, I think that is all the time that we have for today. Unless you have anything else you want to add.
No, that was pretty much it. Thanks for letting me go off, Blake.
Oh, hey man, you're the star.
It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We really appreciate you tuning in for Magic Dads, and I just want to remind you that we're proud of you. Hey, thanks guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.